It's time for Quick on the Uptake here on AM 950 KTNF. Here's your host, Mike McEntee.
Coming soon to a billboard near you, perhaps, an advertisement from Dow Corning saying, here's who you should vote for governor in Minnesota. Unthinkable? Not so much so after what's happened at the U.S. Supreme Court. And now, here locally in Minnesota, the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce has filed lawsuit trying to overturn Minnesota's election laws. Joining me to talk about that and what it might mean is attorney David Lillehaug. David, welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Mike. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you, too. And I want to emphasize here that, David, I called you up. You have nothing to do with this lawsuit, but I wanted to turn to you because you are so learned on election law, and I wanted your input on this.
Well, nothing to do with it yet, but you never know. The lawsuit was just filed yesterday, and the plaintiff, as you mentioned, is the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. The defendant is Susan Gertner in her capacity as the county attorney for Ramsey County, but it is very possible that there will be parties and other organizations that will want to intervene in this lawsuit and have their concerns about campaign finance heard.
The thing that strikes me kind of odd, and again, it's because I'm not a lawyer, I don't get into that. Why is somebody filing a lawsuit when there's no law that's been broken here yet?
Well, I'm surprised this lawsuit wasn't even filed earlier. The Citizens United decision allowing corporate independent expenditures came down on January 21. There are 24 states, including Minnesota, that prohibit this type of corporate independent expenditure, and I would expect there have been or will be lawsuits filed in each and every one. What this lawsuit is a request for a declaratory injunction. In other words, the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce is asking the court to declare that the chamber can go ahead and make these independent expenditures and actually even do more. We should talk about that. And that is an appropriate vehicle when there is a law that you wonder if it's constitutional or not, especially a law that contains criminal penalties as this one does. So it is likely that this is an appropriate vehicle for getting a decision decided on the constitutionality of Minnesota's campaign finance law.
And I'm looking, you sent me the brief here. You were kind enough to go find that for me. I'm looking at the things that they might be able to do, and it's an extensive list. And many of the activities that normally political parties do, including advertising on TV, billboards, but we're also talking about doing rallies, running phone banks. I mean, this is really heavy, hardcore corporations getting into the political business, isn't it?
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce isn't really hiding the ball here. They want to do everything political, including in support of candidates. They are asking that two laws be declared unconstitutional. One is the Minnesota law prohibiting corporate independent expenditures to support or oppose candidates. But this is interesting. There's a second one. They are saying they want the law declared unconstitutional that provides that a corporation may not make a contribution to a candidate, to a political party, to an organization or committee. So they're essentially saying we should be able to make political contributions. Now that is prohibited by Minnesota law and also by federal law. If you want to make a corporation, you can do it through a political action committee. So the Chamber is actually going well beyond this U.S. Supreme Court Citizens United case, and they're asking to be able to make direct contributions to candidates and political parties.
Now, we've talked about this before, that it's very likely that there were going to be changes in Minnesota because of the U.S. Supreme Court decision. It's generally accepted that that's going to happen, but the changes that are being proposed in this lawsuit, the fact that they want to declare that second law unconstitutional, is that something that's likely to fly?
Well, most of the scholarly experts that have commented on the Citizens United U.S. Supreme Court decision have said that the decision really does nothing to undermine the general principle that a corporation may not contribute directly to a political party or to a candidate. So my initial read of the complaint, and let's remember this complaint was just filed yesterday and I secured it this afternoon, is that the Chamber of Commerce is going to have an uphill road on that one. However, I think we need to understand that it's not just about lawsuits. It's about potential legislation to remedy Citizens United and even potential constitutional amendments. And I think there is a lot of appetite out there to do something about the Citizens United decision. There was a ABC News Washington Post poll that just came out today, and it really shows that people in this country very solidly condemn the Citizens United decision. 85% of the Democrats are against corporate independent expenditures, 81% of independents, but listen to this, Mike, 76% of Republicans. And overall, 65% of the population is strongly opposed to the result in Citizens United.
Now,
so that's going to result in a lot of proposed legislation, some of it already on the table, and there's even talk about a constitutional amendment.
Now, I got to ask, at the top of the show here, I joked almost saying Dow Corning tells you to vote for vote for governor, who you should vote for. My real question is, and I know you don't have the answer to this is more like just a question to the world. Who the heck would want to start advertising one way or another and have their name possibly associated with, politics?
Well, the answer, Mike, is it depends. It may very well be that a company is prepared to weigh in for or against a candidate, for or against a political party, depending on what the business interests are at stake. But here's another thing. A lot of smart election lawyers are advising their corporate clients that if they want to do this, they should do it through trade associations or through the Chamber of Commerce. And some of that may be disclosed. And one thing Citizens United did not do is overturn laws on disclosure. But, if you can do it through a front group, or maybe even a couple, 3 front groups, then you've got at least temporarily some deniability until it comes out. And as you know, a lot of these significant expenditures occur at the end of campaigns when it's pretty hard to pin down, whether you're being swift-boated and if so, by whom. We saw that in Minnesota in the 2006 gubernatorial election where this Texas millionaire dumped a bunch of money into the gubernatorial race. So it's not just a matter of disclosure, it's a matter of the timing of the disclosure. So, yeah, I can see corporations doing this.
Okay, so we may be really looking at a lot of corporate expenditures. Right now the way things work is a corporation has to run its money through a PAC. Essentially, all the employees contribute to a PAC, and that's regulated. Is this going to open up the floodgates even more? Are there more avenues now, more money if this lawsuit were to be successful?
Well, there are definitely gates that are open. Now, is that going to be a flood or not? It's the proverbial, it remains to be seen. I will say, however, that smart lobbyists and smart election lawyers are busy advising their clients. There may be some corporations that don't really want to get tangled up in elective politics. It hurts their brand. Mm-hmm. There may be others that have definite legislative goals. Yeah. And the mere threat that they can write a $5 million check, a $10 million check, and not just do communications within the corporation, but radio and TV advertising, internet advertising, billboards, and so on, even rallies, that's a real threat to somebody who's running for office, and it could tip the margin in the elected official's decision on a matter of major public policy that can have big dollar implications for the corporation. So the answer is it depends.
Now, the way that this is being approached here, they are asking for a jury trial. Is that unusual, or normally would you just go to a judge and say, declare this unconstitutional?
I'm not really sure what to make of that. I've got to believe that this new Chamber of Commerce case is going to be resolved in United States District Court in Minnesota, probably on what are called cross motions for summary judgment. That basically this is a matter of law as to whether the Minnesota law conflicts with this new First Amendment right that's been given to corporations. So I'd be kind of surprised if it makes it all the way to a jury trial, because I'm not sure there are going to be all that many facts in dispute. That's a puzzle.
Yeah, and the whole process here, because as you mentioned, this very likely does not go to a jury trial. If indeed it goes down the road you talked about, is that a fast process? Is that a slow process? Are we talking weeks, months, years for something like that to come to fruition?
Well, it could move along pretty fast, because certainly with respect to the independent expenditure provision of Minnesota law, there is going to be a case made that it conflicts with the Citizens United decision. Now, let's remember, Citizens United was a 5-4 decision. and it expressly overruled 2 previous Supreme Court decisions and really overturned law going back to 1907 when Congress passed the law prohibiting corporate expenditures in campaigns. So this Minnesota case could move along pretty fast. There are going to be cases all over the country that are moving along at different paces, and who knows, maybe it'll get to the Supreme Court again, and who knows whether we're going to have exactly the same Supreme Court at that time, or whether there will be a new justice joining Justice Sotomayor in coming to a contrary conclusion. So I can't predict the timing, but I think you can safely say the timing is going to vary around the country.
And I suspect it might have an influence on this election cycle that we're in, because even though we've been hearing the campaign here for quite some time, we're still quite early in the year. November is still quite a ways away.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole point of this Minnesota Chamber of Commerce lawsuit is to get a declaration as to what's legal and what's not, so the Chamber can participate, and presumably corporate members of the Chamber can participate more actively in the 2010 election. We saw a bunch of independent expenditures in the gubernatorial election in 2006. I think we're going to see a lot more in 2010.
David Lillehaug, thank you so much for joining us. David is an attorney who follows election law, as many of you know, and I really appreciate you joining us on the show today.
My pleasure, Mike. Thank you.